Now that we've finished our initial parameter loading and just our initial set of computations, we're going to focus on building out our 3D model, at least the first pass of getting all the foundational geometry. So basically, we should wind up with something that looks a lot like uh, what we sketched out at the conclusion of this segment. So now it's time to sketch for this for real. So what I'm going to do is first off, I'm going to plan uh, basically I need to know what the outer circle's diameter is. In other words, what is the overall circle of the base of the part? So let me look at my parameters. That helps for me jog my memory. So if we think about our just our baseline four cup design, we have the diameter of the holder. We actually have two of them. If you imagine this in a line, just the x-axis, let's say, we're going to have two of these cup holders, so the diameter of the holder, so there are two of these. There's also the diameter of the handle base, which we said was going to be 50. So we have these two to consider. And we also need the correct separation between them. We want the one diameter holder is on the left, the other one is on the right. The distance from the outer circle to the first holder needs to be width of the wall. And same thing on the right. That diameter holder to the outer circle needs to be width of the wall. Now, it's slightly more complicated and we need to be thinking ahead here for the diameter of the handle base. We do want the base of the handle to be separated from the holder by width of the wall, but we also said that we'd like to chamfer or perhaps fillet the base. And I want to make sure that I'm not going to smooth out so much because it's actually going to bring our handle base out a little bit. I want to make sure I don't smooth it out so much that I encroach on the holder itself. So I'm going to say that from the diameter of the handle base, so that circle to either of these circles, I want width of the wall plus this value smooth. And we'll see how this actually turns out when we complete the sketch. So let's start making our circle. This is going to be 2 times diameter of the holder plus 1 diameter of the handle base plus 4 width walls plus 2 smooth. Okay. So right here, let's look at what we got out of this. This is 205.44 millimeters. Now this is actually basically almost the upper limit of what my printer can do. My printer will do 210 by 250 millimeters on the X and Y axis, and then 210 millimeters on the Z. So in order for this part to work, I need this outer diameter to be less than that 210, and ideally a little bit less because of in the printing process, ideally you have a what is it? Is it a skirt? Which helps get the filament stable before you start extruding filament onto the final part. So this is okay. What I will say is that this is almost the entire print bed, and during the design considerations phase, we kind of estimated that the overall height of the part might turn out to be almost the limit of the height. Bottom line, this part is probably going to take a very long time to print. We'll have to think about infill and what we need and what we don't need for strength. We'll figure that out all in the slicing phase of the printing process. But we're going to design for what we need, not for a short and simple print, because we want a very specific thing here, and even if it takes a day to print, we're going to get it. So now that we have this, I'm going to start measuring out from the center of the circle to get our different holders, our base. So let's start with the handle base. So this is diameter of the handle base. From the center, then we can go out diameter of the handle base over 2, so the radius plus width of the wall plus that smooth I wanted. And what I'm going to do then is from here, I'm going to go out diameter of the holder over 2, so the radius, and then I can make my circle. This is diameter of the holder, and that's actually it. Now let me verify that these measurements turned out to be what I think they are. If I draw a line, and this is slightly just an approximation, but here we see this is 3 millimeters, that's right. And what about from here to here? That's 5, which is 3 for width of the wall plus 2 smooth. That's perfect. That's what we wanted. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make 3 more of these. So 4 holders total. I'm going to copy and paste this computation and do it in each axis, each direction. Over there, and one more. And then I'm going to come out by this radius. So up here, over here, and up here. And while you're doing this, one thing to keep in mind, and this is really getting to the power of the parameterization that we did. Every time that you do a sketch dimension, you want to make sure it starts with fx. If it does, that means that it is getting that value. That is the computed value from a parameter. If you don't see that, it means that, and just depending on like how you click and push buttons, it might kind of resolve that value in here, and you'll just get a number, and there won't be an fx. If there's not, the problem is if you then later go to change parameters, and let's say I change, let's just change it right now. Let's change something. Diameter handle base. We're going to make that 55 and hit OK. Do you see what happens? So let me just switch with Control Z and repeat. So everything got updated when we made this change. Let me just go back and make sure it's at 50, which is what we initially designed for. If you don't see an fx somewhere, then when you make that change, it won't work. So for example, let's say that I set this value, which depends on diameter handle base. Let's set it manually to be 30, which as you can see, it's currently 30. You'll see that there's no more fx here. So now let me go to change parameters, and I change the diameter handle base to 55. So look at what happened. This value is 32.5. This value 32.5. This value is still 30. So now all the measurements are kind of off. If I measure from this edge of the circle to this edge, now I've got 2.5. That's a lot less than what I was supposed to be getting. I was supposed to be getting from here to here 5, but now I only have 2.5. So that's going to break my design, or at least make it not work as intended. So I just hit Control Z a couple times, and now everything's back to normal. Everything has an fx, and let me just go back and make sure that this is still 50. It is. So now that's just something to consider. Just make sure you got fx's everywhere that you're expecting things to be based on the parameters. I think I'm ready, so I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch. I'm going to move this over to remind ourselves that we're in 3 dimensions, and I'm going to start extruding. So we're going to start with this kind of outline, and we're going to come up how much. So we're going to start with width of the wall, because we still need to have that bottom to this to these cup holders, and then we're going to go up by depth of the holder, and this will be operation new body, and that's right. So we're not quite done with that sketch actually, because as you recall, what we want to do is have a bottom to all of these holders, and actually the centerpiece is supposed to be the handle. That's supposed to come up quite a bit. So by default, when you extrude, it hides the sketch, which is often what you want. But in this case, I'm going to reuse it. So I'm going to turn on the visibility for that sketch again. It doesn't get deleted, it just gets hidden. And select all of those profiles at the bottom. And I'm going to just orbit a little bit so I can grab these. Okay. And then I'm going to come up with the wall. And now I can hide the sketch. And now we see that we've got the bottoms to our holders. And now this isn't quite what we want because we need to have this profile come up a lot because that's our base. That's our for the handle. That's the base of the handle. So we don't need a sketch to do that though. I can just use extrude again. And I'm going to come up how much. So I'm going to come up depth holder minus width wall, which will bring it, I thought that would bring it flush. No, of course not, because I already corrected for the width of the wall. I just need to bring it up depth holder. And then I can bring it up height of the cup. And I did say that I think that I don't want this to be strictly the height of the cup. I want this to be a little bit more. So let me just hit OK for now. Join. I'm gonna create this. I'm gonna add another parameter. Okay, we drag this over a little bit. It's gonna do the same thing. Okay, well, we're fine. We have height of. We already have. What is it called? Height of the handle base. And so we're going to say clearance handle. Best I can come up with right now. And I'm going to give that 5 millimeters. Let's try 10. We can always change this. That is the beauty of parameters. Let me hit OK so I can show you what I did. Clearance handle 10 mils. So currently, I set height of the handle base to be height of the cup. But what we can do is we can also call on variables here. So let's just set height of the handle base to be height of the cup plus clearance of the handle. And now I'm just going to Control Z so you can see what changed. That clearance got added here. So now the goal is we can now more comfortably insert the cups here. Now what we have to figure out is how to come out. And this is actually slightly tricky. There are a couple ways we can go about this. So I think that what we're going to do is use construction. At least we're going to try this. Okay, perfect. Okay, what we can do. There are probably better ways to do this. If you know any, please let me know. I'm going to make a tangent plane there. And ultimately what I want is I want basically a mid plane. I want a plane through the middle of this handle. Let me see if I can get another tangent plane on the opposite side. So I'm going to do this. By the looks of it, 90 degrees. That's exactly what I want. Okay. And now I can construct a mid plane between these two tangent planes. And here's my mid plane. That's what I'm looking for. Now I can start a sketch on that mid plane. And I'm going to switch to wireframe mode. I think that is going to help me. And I probably am going to hide the construction. And I'm going to get rid of this blue. I think it's making it very difficult, at least for me. Photo booth is the default. It's a bit hard on the eyes at night, but it'll work. Let me see if I can create a projection. Yes. So what I did is I projected our body onto this plane, which gives me these snap points. So the alternative is what I could have done is I did have a snap point here in the middle and I could have come out the radius, but I think this is more elegant. So what I'm going to say is I have a line that's coming out here and it's 45 degrees and I should parameterize that. And I'm actually just going to bring it out a lot. Oops, second line was not intentional. Let me parameterize that. everything should be parameterized. So this is going to be angle of handle, and that's going to be 45, and I need to make sure I'm on degrees, not millimeters. So this is angle of handle. Okay. And then I've got some height. I don't know what the height needs to be. So I'm just going to kind of guesstimate. It's going to be really high. I'm not going to constrain either of these dimensions. And then I'm going to make a horizontal line, which will be the radius. And so diameter of handle top over 2. And that is constrained. So now let's use constraints. So this left-hand side of the top of the handle needs to be coincident with this line. That's true. Interestingly, I mean, just I can already see maybe we made the diameter of the handle too big, but let's see how this looks. The other constraint is the right-hand side would be coincident with this line that we brought out. And this is actually enough. If we take this, then we can revolve the profile 360 degrees, and we'll have our holder. But if we look at this probably is not right. This probably should have been thought about better initially. If I look at this, how much do I have? If you imagine wrapping your hand around that, I have 8 millimeters to hold. If I'm holding it from the top, that's almost 2 pencil erasers width. It's not enough. The other thing that I forgot is I just hit Control Z. So I also wanted there should be height. What did I call this? Let me see the parameters. I might have just forgotten to define this. Let's see. This is height of the handle top. What was this? Diameter handle top. Okay. So I said I wanted that, height handle top. And pull this out. So actually, what is coincident is this to here. And now I have what I had imagined. But yeah, looking at this, I really think this 2 inches on the handle, that might be too much, because I have a hard time imagining fitting my hand around this handle when there's only 8 millimeters. How much do I actually need? An inch might be too much, but maybe half an inch? Half an inch would be 12.5. So if I imagine this, I need to go out basically to here. That's kind of what I'm imagining here. So I'm 4 millimeters short approximately, which means, and that's on the radius. So on the diameter, I'm 8 millimeters short. So what I'm gonna try and do, I'm gonna zoom fit, look at my object in 3D again. Let's go to the parameters. Let's change the diameter of the handle base to be 50 minus 8, 42. Let's see if everything just works. I'm just gonna Control Z and undo so I can see what changed. This looks right to me. Everything just adapted. Let's get back to that sketch. And let's make sure that everything looks good here still. Is this dimension still the expected radius? So 33, and multiply that by 2, you get about 66, and that was, in fact, the diameter of the handle top that we wanted. We still have our 5 millimeters clearance here. We have our 45-degree angle, and now how much space do we have? 12.425, that's basically 12.5. That's about half an inch on either side. I think this could work. Let's give it a shot. So I'm going to finish the sketch. I'm going to go back to 3D. And now I'm going to create Revolve. So as you can see from the tooltip, it's going to take a profile and then revolve it. So take this profile. Here's our axis, 360 degrees. It kind of autofills just what you want, and join. And look at that. Now we have our handle. And this is looking a lot like the design that we proposed. Also, since we changed the diameter of the handle base, I'm just going to do inspect and look at this outer circle. The diameter is now 197. That's brought the size of this part down. That's good. That means it's going to reduce our print time. All the other constraints are still satisfied, and things are looking good. So at this point, we've got our first iteration of all the geometry, just the foundational geometry that we sketched out in our 3D model. So the next step, and this is what the next segment is going to cover, is iterating on that geometry, fine-tuning it, doing things like smoothing it out, figuring out things that we might have overlooked, double-checking our measurements. So look out for that in the next video.